So thank you guys for being here right now. Just my talk, Just Jump, Lessons for Wannabe Social Engineers by a wannabe social engineer. I should say recent wannabe in the last 2 years. So as Andy said, penetration tester at Wolf & Co. The obligatory, in my views, are not necessarily theirs. Again, newer social engineer, jsark983 on Twitter, first time speaker at layer 8, second year at layer 8, and for as long as I will be coming to layer 8, it sucks that I always will have to know that I missed the first year, unfortunately. So, oh well. Okay, why listen to this? Does social engineering scare you? I know it did me, still does. You're lying if you say, if anybody that tells you they're not scared, even to this day, after they've been doing it for 10 years, is lying to you. Are you interested but not sure how to pave a path? Not sure what skills are relevant? USC and want more info? Or you're bored and this sounded interesting? All possibilities. Common misconceptions and falsehoods about social engineering. They are onto you. Everybody assumes they're caught before they're caught, right? And this is something you kind of build out over time. This is understanding that it's not as bad as you think. Nobody, when you walk in the front door, unless you're just screaming, call the police, thinks that you're a bad guy or a girl, right? Nobody does. So understand that you have more room than you think you do when you walk in that door and you take your first deep breath and start your pretext. There's only one path for learning. Not true, right? There are many different things you can learn within SE, right? You can end up on a red team, just be a social engineer, be really good at phishing, right? Or really good at physicals, or really good at door bypass tools. Like, you can start from any one of those points and just kind of learn as you go. That getting caught is a bad thing. You want to get caught, right? I know it sounds like counterintuitive, but you want to get caught. It's how you know that the client is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if it's a multi-year client and they're getting better year over year, then that's great for everybody. You're helping them, and they're getting more secure, right? Jason Street, famous social engineer, he's big on this concept. I think you should be too. That you need to be uber technical, right? Not necessarily the case, but it does help, right? You're a more dynamic tester, right? If not only can you get in the front door, bypass the receptionist, get to where you're supposed to go, maybe the server room, right? And also know how to then plug some type of device into that, get a connection back to your team, back at the office or wherever they are, establish command and control, things like that, right? Understanding how that stuff works makes you more dynamic. It's going to give you more opportunities. The bigger the org, the harder or scarier the job. I know this also probably sounds counterintuitive, but I think I am more scared to walk into like a small bank branch and think it's going to be harder than I do like with like a giant like back office location with like 300-400 employees on a massive campus, right? There's so many more entry points. There's so many different options, right, to elude security on like a massive space than just like walking in the one front door to a bank branch where you're immediately going to be staring 3 tellers in the face and a manager at a desk. So, okay, your sweet skills. So let's talk about things that you probably are already good at and you just don't realize that will help you as you grow in social engineering or as you're thinking about getting into social engineering. Can you make people laugh, right? It's immediately disarming in a situation that is getting a little bit awkward, right? So if you think you might have tipped somebody off, or you may be going down a wrong path with someone and you're starting to think like maybe this isn't going well, can you crack a joke? Can you be relatable in that way? Kind of tone down the situation. Are you good at engaging people in conversation? Like, not even when somebody starts with you, I mean, like, can you just start talking to somebody about something and keep it going, right? If you're good at that, huge skill. And it's always something you can work on. Can you look more or less approachable when you need to? Do you work well under pressure? That's a biggie. If you're good at that, you're halfway there. Can you appear confident when necessary or weak when necessary, right? Sometimes you want to put somebody off, sometimes you want to look approachable. Like, I mean, you just got to feel all that stuff out. And sooner or later, it will kind of come naturally. Probably have some of these skills, haven't consciously put them to use yet, but trust me, they're all extremely important. And if you don't have them, you can always work on them. So getting started, right? Regardless of your experience level, let's talk about some things that are kind of broadly applicable to everybody. Getting comfortable talking to people. Like I said, smile at strangers, strike up a conversation in a cafe. Maybe not right now, but as things start to open up, you can work on these things. Get outside of your friend group, right? I mean, it's easy to talk to the people you know. I mean, you're not necessarily learning anything there. So, start interacting with people you don't know, and you'll start to, understand, like, when you're not expecting a certain comment or certain question, like how can you adapt to that scenario, that conversation with that person, whether it's getting weird or whether it's going great or whatever. It'll give you more to work with in the field. Try harmless influence techniques. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Chris Voss used to be lead FBI negotiator for hostage crises, right? He has a book called Never Split the Difference, and he talks about techniques like labeling, mirroring, things like that. So mirroring is like, somebody says to you, oh, I'm sorry, like, I'm having a really hard time getting this report into you by Friday. And you say something back to them like, I'm having a hard time getting the report to me by Friday, right? And it's like inquisitive, like you get them to start talking more, you get more information out of them. Like, yeah, I really, I'm having a hard time at home. Having a hard time at home, right? Start opening up more, right? So that's mirroring. Labeling, right? Somebody's talking to you, like you can kind of go from the mirroring to the labeling and say, kind of putting a label on what that person's feeling, and it immediately makes them feel super understood and valued, right? So labeling would be, they say, I'm having a hard time at home with the kids. You say back to them, sounds like your work-life balance is tough, something like that, and then they keep opening up more. So influence, building rapport, it's a great book. I think I have it listed at the end, but he has a lot of great techniques for social engineers and broadly people in general. Business, doesn't matter what it is. Books, podcasts, Twitter, right? There's a ton of stuff out there. OSINT Curious, the Social Engineer podcast, Privacy, Security, and OSINT Show, Layer 8 podcast, right? There's a lot of stuff out there. Internships. You're not going to knock on Rapid7's door right now if you're new and say, yeah, I'd like a job as a social engineer, right? Probably going to look at you a little weird, ask about your experience, and if you don't have any, it's going to be tough. Nothing wrong with an internship. You're never too old, in my opinion. Once you have some practice, blog it, LinkedIn posts, Twitter. You just start putting your knowledge out there of the world. You'd be surprised how fast your following grows, how fast you learn about new things that are out there for you to learn and grow with, like new techniques, new skills, new books, all kinds of stuff is out there. Just engage. What if you already have a job in InfoSec but not SE? Does your company have an SE team? Ask to help them. There's a lot of things you can do to help them. Can you help with OSINT, open source intelligence gathering? I mean, that's not always the sexiest part of doing like a physical social engagement. So start there, right? Not to say that OSINT isn't sexy, but can you help with logistics, right? There's a lot of documentation and planning that goes into a physical engagement. Can you help do that, right? Can you be a point of contact for a fake get out of jail free letter, which we'll talk more about in a sec. Can you be the fake person on the other end of the phone when somebody thinks they're caught and hands over that fake get out of jail free letter and says, hey, this is the CEO of your company, he said to call you, that type of thing. Well, now you're the fake CEO and you're saying, yes, he's authorized to be there, right? So little ways to get your foot in the door. Or could you just pick their brains over coffee or lunch, right? Most teammates are pretty awesome people. I've yet to meet a really big jerk out there within InfoSec community. I know they exist, but most people are going to be cool, especially if you work with them. If your company doesn't have an SE team, be the champion, right? Talk to your leadership about establishing one. There's money to be made out there, right? Sell it in that way. Use some of your influence techniques we talked about earlier from some of the resources I'm going to list. Create a proposal for starting a small team, right? If there's some interest. Offer a performance assessment of your own company to show you have some skills, that you've been working on this stuff, that you've been reading up, right? Check on, a clean desk policy, looking for passwords in the office space, checking the doors to see how secure they are, right? Stuff like that. Fear, let's talk about that. So this is the one thing that helps you overcome fear, and I always think about it before, during, and after the engagement. I'm being paid to play the bad guy, right? And if I don't do it, the real bad guy will do it for free. Him, that's the bad guy. He'll do this for free. So we have to do it well. We have to be really good at it, right? We have to have to give it all we have because we're providing value to the client. We're helping them get more secure. More about fear. Remember that unless you're a sociopath, you will never be fearless during engagements. I mean, I'm nervous for every single one of them, right? It's a combination of like, nerves that you're going to fail, that you're quote unquote fail, right? That you're going to get caught, but getting caught's a good thing, right? But you also want to be good, like you want to get, you as a person, like personally, you want to get into that server room. You want to get behind that teller line. You want to, for yourself, show, that you're capable, you're good at this stuff. But it's natural. Don't want to cripple you. That's what you really don't want is just, having a panic attack before you walk in the front door, right? Not good. I hate mission calls personally. I'll just throw it out there. I think they're scarier than physical visits. I don't know why. I've heard it from other people too. Other people have that same fear. It's a weird thing. I don't know. Maybe because you have more outs when you're in a physical setting, whereas you're like have this like, unidirectional thing where you're talking to somebody on the phone and it's all about tone and what you say. On a physical engagement, you can always hide in the bathroom. Watch some other talks, maybe even in this this conference or previous conferences. I'll have some links to some good talks at the end. You'd be almost every single one of the talks from the pros talk about hiding in the bathroom until they get their nerves down or until they get ready after they get into that get past reception or like through that initial access point. It's a good way to calm your nerves. And again, remember, like in my previous slide, you're supposed to be there. You're being paid to do this, right? Confidence boosters to help, right? And these will be necessities as you grow, right? Badge makers, like corporate, like what's the wrong name? Like commercial grade badge makers. Now they're expensive. You can get them used on eBay for like $150, right? Like $1,000 badge maker, you can get on eBay for $150. I did. All I had to buy was like a new ink ribbon, and it was good to go. So now I'm making badges that look just like anywhere I need to be. Do a little OSINT, find out what they look like. Sometimes they're posted on Facebook. You can see what their badges look like. Clone one, right? And then that's a huge confidence booster. Anybody has to see your badge? Here it is. Combine that with a Proxmark 3 badge cloner, and you're golden, right? If you can clone a badge and have that badge look exactly like theirs, and it gets you in the door, it's going to be tough to catch you. Practicing with your newfangled bypass tools that you bought, right? You don't want to be using these things for the first time on an actual engagement. You want to know how to use them. You want to be able to like rip that thing out, shove it in the door, and be in a second or two, and put it away before you get caught. Fake business cards to match with your fake badge. Yeah, I mean, same thing. Wherever you're going, if you have an engagement coming up with, Bank Z, Vistaprint will give you for $10 like 50 of those business cards and ship them to you, right? So it's not that expensive, and it goes a long way in building credibility out there. And heavy metal, right? Dead serious. Like sometimes before physical engagements, I'll sit in the car and listen to Slayer for like 10 minutes, and it'll like get me pumped to do what I'm going to do, right? Talk about planning and what not to. In my opinion, fear leads to overthinking, which leads to overplanning, which leads to failure, right? Imagine this scenario. Your pretext is a firewall technician. Your goal is to get in the server room, prove you were there, leave a card, take a pic. You rehearsed every possible question, interaction, and you have curated answers ready to go. You've gone over in your head a million times, right? You're ready. Okay. You performed OSINT, and you know Mike L is the network admin, and you expect the conversation to go something like this with the receptionist. Hi, can I help you? Yeah, I'm with Super Secure Firewall Company, here to perform the annual inspection of the device. I need access to the server room for about 5 minutes. Okay, who's your contact here? You say, I spoke with Michael today. He said to let you know why I'm here, and he'll check in with me after the inspection's done. Michael hasn't worked here for 3 months. Oh boy. Panic ensues, you didn't plan this, you pause, you can't pivot, right? Now you're scared, you know you're blown, she's suspicious, game over, right? All because you weren't dynamic, you overplanned everything, right? Because you were scared. So what you don't want to do, rehearse expected conversations verbatim, right? You need to be limber out there. You don't want to plan your exact movements from A to B to C physically, right? You're not like setting certain points along a path that you want to go to, right? If you have that tunnel vision, right, and your plan is to go through the front door, you're not going to see when the guy comes out the side door and props it open to have a smoke break, right? Like you're not going to notice these things because you're too focused on that one thing you want to do. Right, planning means side door. Don't only bring gear for one pretext, right? Like what happens if you have a certain pretext, like as the firewall tech, but then you notice there's construction going on, right? Maybe, I mean, do you have a hard hat, a vest, and a clipboard in the trunk, right? Maybe you can switch up, right? Be dynamic again. Don't panic and do something out of scope. You really don't want to do this. You're gonna get the client angry. You might do something illegal or outside of the scope that's going to, cause disruptions to them, right? You don't want to do that. What you do want to do, passive and active recon, so that you don't slip up and go out of scope, right? You're ready, right? You know that ideally you know that my account doesn't work there anymore because you did your OSINT correct up front. You want to actively communicate ideas with your points of contact, right? This is collaborative, unless it's like a super like black box red team, right? This needs to be collaborative. Settle on a pretext if it's the engagement, right? Like you're not gonna walk in the door as like a massage therapist at a bank, right? That's not gonna work. Have all of your pretexts, your physical equipment, everything ready the day or two before, right? Everything's in place, all of your infrastructure, your phishing campaign, like everything you're gonna do is ready to go. You're not tinkering last minute. Have basic answers for 3 types of likely questions you're gonna get, right? Who you better see, have multiple names, right? Not just zone in on one. Know what you're there for, right? Understand your pretext and know where you're supposed to go, right? If you have an office, if there's a 20-floor office space, you need to know which of those floors you're going to get into, or you're trying to get to when you walk in the front door and potentially talk to security, and once you get in the elevator, right? Know all that stuff up front. And mentally preload your pretext. Don't plan everything, right? But know who you are, who you're supposed to be, what your mannerisms may be like, what kinds of things you might say. And have your get out of jail free letters ready. Engagement dependent, what you want to bring. Real get out of jail free letter, a fake get out of jail free letter. We talked about that a little before. It's the one that you give when you're about to be blown. That's your last hope to kind of like stay in the game. And then the real one is like, okay, you've got me, engagement over. Please call this person and don't call the cops. Cigarettes, smoke breaks, good to have and hand out, right? Be that guy. High-vis vest, construction, door shims, call spoofing app to make your number look like it's coming from somewhere else, maybe a trusted internal number. Phishing tools, GUI-based, right? These are good ones, Lucy Go Fish, just plenty out there. And pizza. Who isn't going to hold the door for the pizza guy? There's plenty of stories out there about people getting in the door with pizza constantly. Business cards, real and fake, bring those. Do not bring this. I know, funny, but I'm serious. Like, not engagement dependent. Do not bring any weapons, right? No weapons. Don't bring those. Don't bring excess gear, right? Any illegal tools in your state, sometimes lockpicks or other types of bypass devices, you can't bring them. You can't have them like in that state. That's literally against the law. It doesn't matter what the client says. Staying safe. Are you very clear on your scope, right? If you spoke to the client, do you know exactly what you can and cannot do? Do you have multiple copies of your get out of jail free letters, right? How do you double check that you have multiple points of contact available during testing should something go sideways? Are there security guards? Are they armed, right? That changes everything. Like you need to make sure that you're doing that up front. Make sure you understand that. If the building is managed, does the building management know that you're coming, right? If they have no idea you're supposed to be there and they catch you, they don't care what your get out of jail free letter says. They might not know the people on it. They're just going to call the cops. And if you're blown, do not run, especially from the cops. If you're running from just a security guard, I mean, now your face is going to be plastered all over that security booth. So if you do try to come back and get back in, it's not going to happen. And if it's the cops, then you're probably going to get arrested and you're going to show that you're likely guilty of something. That's what they're going to think. More learning. I know I blew through that. Slides will be available, but I wanted to leave time for questions. There's plenty of stuff here. Conferences and events you can attend. Who to follow on Twitter, Tinker, Snell, lots of really good people there. They have a ton of great talks. Yeah, Tinker Sec, Deviant, all of Jason Street, Brent White, Joe Gray, all awesome. There's that, Chris Voss has a book and a masterclass. If you have a masterclass subscription, it's really, really good. It distills the book down to like some really cool, like basic points. Some books out there, good stuff. And it's question time. Thank you all very much. This is a lot of fun. I love doing this talk, second time I've done it. So thank you guys. Thanks for coming. All right. Any questions?
If you've got questions, go ahead and post them in the Discord channel and Joe will address them there and here for the next few minutes.
Cool. Track 2, or 3, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you, Fuzzy Logic. Misconception that the bigger the Orbis carrier is a spot on take. Yeah, definitely. So many more possibilities. I see people typing. Thank you, Omega. I appreciate it. I was blowing through it. Sorry if I went too fast. Ideas on how to practice from Sean. Who's Sean? I don't know Sean. So to practice, honestly, in the slides, once you can actually get back outside and go to cafes and stuff, like practice building rapport with people that you don't know, having those conversations, right? Like strike up a conversation about someone's dog, see where that leads, right? Try those, subtle influence techniques, to build rapport with people. Like I was talking about Chris Voss labeling, mirroring, things like that. And honestly, like you can't just, get that job and then immediately practice as like, okay, the first day you're going to go try to get into this bank, right? It's hard to get that hands-on practice without breaking the law. It's one of those things that just kind of, like I said, start small, work your way up, right? Read those books, practice those with those tools, show the team that you're on that you're getting there, you're ready, and then sooner or later they're going to give you that first chance, right? And depending on how you do, they'll have feedback for you, and then you kind of build from there, right? I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't just walk into a bank and try to get behind the teller line with no company behind you, no engagement letter. So it's, just jump, right? Name of talk. Thank you, Veston. Great talk. Close call you learned and the lesson you can share with us. All right. I had a close call a few months ago where I was in a branch for a bank, small branch. I walk in the door and the manager's got sniper eyes on me already. And she starts getting agitated. She's like, who are you here to see? And I can tell that she's like already, like she's been tipped off by somebody else already, told her who I was. She wasn't having any of it. And, I said, okay, let me check, with my contacts, there's something right not right here. I know I'm supposed to be here, but, I'll get back to you. I walk out the door. I get called by their manager or her manager back at the back office. And he's like, where are you? And I told him, I'm like, I'm in the parking lot. He's like, well, she's about to call the cops. So if I were you, I'd leave. So that was one of the closest calls I've had. I don't have any of these like crazy stories like some of these guys do. Again, I've only been doing this for a couple of years, but that's one that comes to mind. That was a little scary. Let's see here. There's a lot of questions here. Wow. Typical goals you have during what are the typical goals you have during a pen test, physical pen test, like D Archer? So that's all engagement dependent, and it depends on what the client wants, right? Some of them will say, get in the front door, try to get into the server room, right? Get access to that, and then stop there, right? Or maybe they'll say, get in there, and then as long as you don't break anything, do whatever you want. We want to see how far you can take this. Can you plug something into our server rack and get a connection back to like a command and control infrastructure, right? That'll be something they want. And then they might say, okay, now what can you do, right? So it's all client dependent. Stealing documents, right? Getting access to disaster recovery sites. That was something I did recently. Yeah, it all depends on the scope, and it all depends on what you're comfortable with as a team, how much experience you have, and what the client wants, honestly. Omega Blue 24, where is your cat? Yeah, somebody watched my intro set con talk where she was doing parkour off the wall behind me. She's asleep this time, thank God. That's funny. Thank you for watching both. What else we got here? I think my time's just about up, but I will continue to answer questions in Discord.